This week's episode gave us a lot of answers, but the ending left us with the biggest question we've gotten all of Silo. What are the safeguard procedures? What exactly did Lucas find in the tunnels? And overall, what does it mean for the finale of next week's episode? So let's break it all down, starting off with the information we learned in this week's episode that Lucas discovered. First and foremost, I think the biggest thing that we have to talk about is the fact that we thought there were 50 silos, but Bernard told us there's 51, which throws a whole new wrench in everything we thought we knew. Initially, we thought it was only 50 silos, but there seems to be one main silo that's not accounted for in the 50. What's interesting about this information is I think it's information that Solo doesn't necessarily have. Only Bernard is privy to this information. Because Solo wasn't actually the head of IT, he may not have this information, which I think ties directly into what the safeguard procedures are. Because if there are 50 silos, I think those silos are definitely being monitored by one central silo at this point. One of the main reasons I think this is because of the information that we were given at the end. When the silo's AI was talking to Lucas, it told Lucas only 3 people have ever made it down this far: Salvatore Quinn, Judge Meadows, and George Wilkins, Juliet's boyfriend from her flashbacks in season 1. While it didn't tell George Wilkins what the safeguard procedures were because he was not the head of IT nor the Shadow, it did tell both Salvatore Quinn and Judge Meadows. And from what we know of Salvatore Quinn and Judge Meadows, their actions afterwards, Judge Meadows immediately quit being Bernard's shadow. When Lucas finally deciphered Salvatore Quinn's code, it was about the helplessness of what's happening. Now everything starts to make sense. That's why Judge Meadows quit being the shadow, and that's why I think Salvatore Quinn may have been involved in the rebellion in ways that we didn't know before. Initially, we thought he was trying to suppress it, but maybe after finding out this information, Salvatore Quinn also became disillusioned with the silo. So that begs the question, what exactly is the safeguard procedures? I'm going to base this solely on Silo 17 and what Solo told us and what we saw. In the flashback in the first episode, we saw the inhabitants of Silo 17 make it outside and survive. We know they eventually died, but Solo said something that was so interesting. When they first went outside, they were alive for a while. Then a cloud came by and they all died. Initially, I thought that was a radiation storm, but now that I'm thinking about it and now that I'm starting to see there's something called the safeguard procedure. When the rebels of Silo 17 finally made it outside, whoever it was that was monitoring them from the 51st silo must have did something and initiated the safeguard protocols. That's what that cloud or whatever that took them out is. If that's the case, that leaves me to believe that outside is very habitable. I read some of the comments in my previous videos, and in those comments, people seem to think that it's nanites that's inside their bodies, but I don't think so. And the main reason I don't think so is because of Solo and the kids that we learned about this episode. We learned that there were 5 other individuals in there watching Juliet and Solo this entire time from the first episode. And the reason why those 5 and Solo confirmed to me that it wasn't nanites, because if it was some nanites that they activated in the blood of everyone in the silo, technically the nanites should have affected Solo, but not only Solo, but the other kid in the silo. Mainly the girl with the arrow, her partner Rick, and the other girl named Eater. The reason I'm focusing on those 3 is not only are they older than the other 2, and not only are they children of people who used to live in the silo, their parents survived the initial outbreak of the rebellion, and their parents were alive. It wasn't until they got into the vault of the server room that their parents died. And let's talk about that for just a minute, because I feel like we all owe Solo an apology. Me specifically, because I was ragging on Solo this entire season thinking that Solo was a scumbag. But this entire time, Solo was just a boy that was put in an impossible position to guard a silo and live essentially by yourself from a preteen. And if you add 25 years to that, Solo is in his early 40s, pushing his mid 40s. So to have the pressures that was put upon him and to watch his father die, that's something that's super traumatic. He had to watch the sheriff of the rebellion kill his father in front of him, and then Solo himself got shot by the parents who broke into the vault. So I can understand why he's so paranoid. This entire time we thought he was a killer, and so did the kids that were hiding in the silo. We all thought Solo was a killer, but in actuality, Solo is a victim in all this, just like everybody else that lives in the silo. But with those revelations, a few of our theories were actually true. The numbers on the chalkboard that we saw in the classroom were the codes. Audrey and Rick's parents were trying different combinations, and they must have been trying for a long time because you have 3 tries a day before it locks you out, and the boards were filled with different number combinations. So that means they were trying for a long time. We also got confirmation on exactly who they were. Like I said in my last video, I knew those 2 were the parents of these kids just by the look on their faces, and the fact that they were born after the rebellion and they lived so long also reinforces the fact that the safeguard procedures are not nanites. Another thing we learned this episode leading up to the big discovery with Lucas is the fact that the water at the bottom of Silo 17 is only waist deep. So remember in the first season when Juliet was so petrified to go down? When she got to the bottom of the rope, had she fell, she wouldn't have died. And maybe we might have got some answers a little sooner. But it made me wonder, what if the safeguard protocols is the water itself? Let's think about this for just a sec. In this entire season, in Silo 17, we saw the water rising, and the water also has properties in it that makes people forget. So maybe the water rising and pushing everybody outside of the silo was another factor in them going outside, and maybe it's a two-pronged attack. Water level rising is meant to push everybody out, and once you get outside, whatever that dust is released, and that's what kills everybody. So that's why I think it might be a two-pronged attack. And if we take it back to Silo 18, the fact that there are water pumps all the way down there means that the water needs to be pumped or it'll rise, and the water can keep rising. And like we just established, the water has properties to make people forget. So if you're able to stay in the water and survive somehow, some way, you're gonna forget everything you thought you knew. And if you're not and it pushes you out, whatever the safeguard procedure is, it's gonna get you. Which brings me back to the rebellion and why I said Bernard doesn't know what the safeguard procedure is. Because if he did, I don't think he would have used Walker the way he did. Is it just me, or does Nox actually know that Walker is the traitor? Because the way he's talking to her goes to show that he suspects maybe it's her, and I think Nox is setting Walker up. He wants to test her loyalty, because the way he talked to Walker, the fact that he thinks it's Teddy's mom that may have snitched, goes to show that he's laying the bait for Walker. And if Walker bites and actually presses on the fact that it's Teddy's mom, knowing she's the one behind it, he's going to have all the proof he needs to maybe expose Walker, because now I feel like Nox is ready to take the rebellion to the next level. The fact that Billings joined him, and Billings' wife is actually starting to support the rebellion, not just his wife, but Sims and his wife are working together, and they're shifting their allegiances. They're going to back the rebels. Now everything is closing in around Bernard. Sims wants to be the new head of IT, and he needs to get the key from Bernard. Bernard is too wrapped up in what's going on with Walker. And at this point, the rebellion consists of Lucas, Billings, Shirley, Nox, and Sims. Everyone is against Bernard, but I don't think it's going to be that easy to take out Bernard. We still don't know what the AI knows. I'm starting to think that the AI that's inside the vault is more than just a personalized computer. What if this AI serves like Big Brother, always watching and always paying attention? Because if we think about it, earlier this season, when Lucas and Bernard were inside of the vault and they were going over the legacy, when Nox and Shirley launched that rocket inside of the silo and it started spreading that message, and the AI told him that something was launched inside of the silo. How would the AI know this if it was confined inside the legacy? That's because it's not confined inside the legacy. We found that at the end of the episode. The AI could also talk to Lucas from way on the bottom of the silo. The AI can jump from the IT department that's in the uppers all the way to beneath the silo, beneath mechanical. That means the AI has control and is watching everywhere at all times, which is probably why Salvatore Quinn wrote his message so coded. But guys, that's just my thoughts on it. I'm super excited for what's about to happen next week, because I think everything is about to go crazy. My personal thought has shifted. I think all the tunnels inside of every silo, instead of connecting to one another, I think they all might lead into the 51st silo. And that's why the AI did not want Lucas to go through. But that's just my thoughts on it. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and until next time, peace.